You are listening to an American Free Press podcast. Joining me on the line is Paul Topete, the lead singer of the patriot rock group PokerFace. Paul, thanks for joining us today.
Dave, always a pleasure coming up on your show, man.
Paul, speaking about coming up, we got another Freedompalooza coming up this Saturday, June 30th, and it's going to run till Monday, July 2nd. Now, this is the second Freedompalooza?
The second, and hopefully many more. We hope to take this on a national tour. There's different cities around this country that are more freedom-friendly than others, like Austin is at the top of my list. So we want to visit them with this type of environment where you have 2 or 3 days where you have nothing but great speakers, but then you have the bands entertaining between speakers. So 30 speakers, 30 bands, or at least as close as we can. We'll have something filling up every hour from 12 noon Saturday to 10 p.m. Monday. Praying for great weather, camping, bonfires at the end of the night just to get to know your freedom fighter that you've been talking to through emails, through voicemails, through Skypes like this. It's actually nice to press flesh to meet the person that you've been talking to. So we hope Freedompalooza, it becomes like a gathering place where patriots become friends. That's a big motto with us.
Right. And of course, that was the first time we met was at last year's Freedompalooza.
Yeah, after, I think a couple years at least of talking back and forth. You know, what's really interesting is when you finally put that voice to the face that you meet. And sometimes you're like, yeah, okay, I see that. But then there's sometimes like I've met the voice and then I meet the face that I'm just like, dude, you look nothing like your voice, comes over the phone.
Right.
So that's pretty cool, man.
Last year, the weather was horrendous, right?
First day was great, but then it started that night, probably like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to start the showers, but then it would dry up. But we got knocked out probably about 3, 4, 5 on Sunday last year. Right before payday, Monsanto was going to come up and Steve Armbruster from the Oath Keepers was going to speak. We still had some quality to share with the people that were still there after the first rain blast. And I don't know, I just hope that we get 3 great days from Providence. Hey, look, we've lined up a lot of great friends and people and hopefully some future friends. And if nothing else, I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of quality people and growing better friendships with the ones I already know.
Right. So who's going to be there?
Well, of course, you're coming up. You're speaking. We have P. Papa Hercules. He's going to inform us on the economic Eurotrash zone that's going on right now. And there's 2 different ways we can go about it. We can keep giving the bankers money that they don't deserve, or we can just do what Iceland did, and we can basically break free by taking back the wealth that they stole from us. They have genocide on their hands. So they seize it, they forfeiture it, and then they arrest them, and then they try them, and then they put them in jail. I think that is wonderful.
Yeah, I agree.
And we could do that here. We just have to have the right people in power that actually abide by the law and what the law bids them to do. And that's right the wrongs that they have abused us for, I don't know, since the Civil War, 20 years of prosperity after Jackson kicked them out of the country. We've been under their yoke for 150 years. It's time for freedom for all, man.
Right.
Freedompalooza is that spark, man. You got to have the music for any kind of revolution. Be peaceful like we want it, or if it comes to bloodshed, man, let the songs ignite the passion in the soul of every one of us to do the American thing.
Who's it, Thomas Jefferson, that said the tree of liberty must
needs
occasionally...
to be watered.
Yeah, what was that? Go ahead.
The tree of liberty needs to be watered from time to time with the blood of both the patriot and the tyrant.
Those guys were so smart. I mean, I read their stuff today, and it's just shocking. Even with the whole money issue, these guys were talking about money like we're talking about it today. Those problems existed back then, and they knew what the problem was, and they could not...
Exactly.
Right, and they couldn't rid the country of this curse, of these financial parasites. So besides me and Pete, who else?
Of course, Mr. James Traficant. He was a showstopper last year. He had everybody's attention. Even for the feds or the stadies to send one of their helicopters to film while he was speaking. Remember that 4 times go around in the circle, and then there's the guys across the street on the hill that were like observing with their binoculars. And so obviously something that we were doing was of interest to the powers that be. And hey, we're just celebrating our Forefather Day, which is what this really is about. But it falls on a Wednesday, July 4th. We don't call it July 4th Day. We call it Forefathers Day because that's really what it's about. It's for the Americans that created this country. The bloodshed, the sacrifices, and something that we take for granted every day when we're playing our Nintendos or going to the malls or just living in an illusionary, very superficial existence for many Americans today. And, I wish they would get back in touch with their roots and care about the good things again. There was another quote that as long as America was good, we will be great. But when America is no longer good, we're going to be like the cesspool of humanity. And that's exactly what we've become. We've become Talmudized through the Talmud vision. And we're no longer Americans anymore, man. Break free from the chains.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say, Paul, that it's looking good so far for the weather because I looked it up and it looks like it's going to be.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
I'm just saying it's going to be a nice.
I appreciate it. I don't even want to jinx it. So, so James Traficant's coming. Jim Condit's picking him up. He's going to talk about vote fraud, which we tried to expose with Ron Paul in 2008. Friends of ours, the Granny Warriors, actually provided money for the New Hampshire re-vote, and Ron Paul and Lou Moore ran away from that as fast as they could. Okay, so something that they could have taken care of in 2008 is still plaguing in 2012. 2012. The selections of 2012 are nothing but fraud because in so many instances there has been this vote fraud going on, and they could have been proven again. I mean, it's to the point that lawyers that are for Ron Paul are suing on behalf of Ron Paul with a RICO class action suit against the GOP party leaders in the states where they actually, in some places came to blows to try to prevent the freedom revolution. The cult of personality, Ron Paul, is the current day presenter of that. I always tell everybody, don't worship any cult of personality. Me, Ron Paul, or an Alex Jones. Worship the creator, brother, but love the ideals that we are built on. Freedom for all. Freedom to be that unique freak that God made us to be. So as long as I don't infringe on your rights or damage your property, let me be too, okay?
Right. Yeah, you're right. People unfortunately get caught up in the personality of somebody instead of paying attention to the
real thing.
Right, the real thing, the less exciting things that really are going to secure and allow our freedom to prosper. But that's human nature, right, man? I mean, that's human psychology. What can you do?
Try to be a good example of what not to be, you know what I mean? And we try to teach that. And here's a good example. When I go visit my dad's side of the family in Mexico, I talk like an American. I talk forefatherish, okay? I talk the ideals that started this country. My cousins have heard it for years, but like their friends that we're all hanging out with, they'll be like listening to me and they'll be like, man, you got like great wisdom, man. I'm like, well, these aren't really actually my words. I'm just translating them for you right now. But they're from better men of an earlier age that started the country, which I wish Mexico had that original constitution or Articles of Confederation. I want freedom for you, brothers. So it's like in little ways, I'm like inciting freedom down there by just like dropping freedom ideals that they've never really heard for. But all of humanity is starving for, man. All of us.
Yeah, just quotes from several hundred years ago.
Right. I know. Dangerous.
Yeah. We've got Trafficant. We've got Jim Condit, well known for vote fraud. And what about Karen Kwiatkowski?
Karen Kwiatkowski and Susan Lindau are both ex-former CIA, now whistleblowers. This is Freedom Festival. We're exposing the crimes. And look, it's not a Republican thing. It's not a Democratic thing. They work for the same team, Global Corp. We're here to expose their crimes because they need to be destroyed, because they're not representative of America. They represent the wannabe masters, and it's time for the parent of this union here to spank the unruly child that is making deals with the devil, put them back in order.
Can't argue with that. How much is it for Freedompalooza?
$15 a day. You can even come in Friday night and set up camp. But for the 3 days, it's $30. We're trying to keep it like 30 bands, 30 speakers, $30, camping free, parking free, children under 12 free. If you do come and want to bring alcoholic beverages, 1, be of age, 2, have it be in cans only. We don't want any glass to be broken because it is a family event and there will be lots of children there. And I don't want anybody to have their feet cut up because somebody was ignorant and not thinking of others. So you can bring beer, no alcohol, because again, liquor's quicker and we just want you to have a nice, pleasant buzz. We don't need people losing their minds or doing something stupid by leaving and getting hurt. It's a very friendly atmosphere, very safe atmosphere once you come into the 22-acre grounds. It's 10 miles up the road from where Washington crossed the Delaware River to route the Hessians Christmas Eve. So it's a very historical area as well. So, hey, if you're not drunk and you want to leave for a couple hours, you're not into the bands or don't know them or the speakers, and you just want to like drive up and down 611 or 32 going down to New Hope, it's beautiful. And this time of year, even better. So use Freedompalooza as your base camp and enjoy the music when you want to and enjoy the sights when you want to. You can even bring some inner tubes and float down the Delaware River.
Nice. So where's it going to be?
It's at Johnny Mac's American Grill. Like I said, you can come in Friday night if you want to set up camp so that you have a good spot, or you're traveling Friday, like a lot of people I know will. The actual address is 9755 Easton Road, which is Route 611, Kittnersville, Pennsylvania. Zip is 18930 if you want to MapQuest that. And the telephone number, in case you're lost, is 610-847-1286.
They have food there, right, at the grill, I guess, when this is going on?
Right. He's going to have like the outdoor person with the standard fare, the burgers and hot dogs. Everything's reasonable prices. The cool thing about Johnny's, he's donating his property for the event. All he asked was that he could feed the people coming. And the food, try his cheesesteaks are phenomenal. Come be fed, be it with words or sustenance of food. You can't beat it, man.
30 bands, you said?
As many as 30 as we can. You know what happens with these things is you start out with a lot of bands, and then even before the show even begins, like 4 or 5 of them will break up, or somebody's going on vacation, or somebody can't get off of work, or, you know, everybody like has great intentions, but remember, each band's got 4 or 5 people in it, so if one of those members can't do it for whatever reason, everybody else's intentions were like, we're going to be there. Yeah, Johnny couldn't get off from that third shift, and he's not going to be able to make it, so we just go with the flow. There'll be music playing every hour is what I do know. We'll have some bands play, you know, a second time, because in 40 minutes you just can't convey all the music that's in an act. But we're trying to give as many different bands that we're aware of that are talented, that deserve to be exposed, to be in front of like-minded people that might be their new fans too. So we've been doing this for years with other festivals PokerFace has thrown over the years, starting with the Just Do Me Bashes in the early 90s, and then we did some Rocktoberfests, and then we stopped with the Believe concept, which is Best of the Lehigh Valley bands, and that ran for 4 years too. So Some of the bands that are going to be playing with PokerFace, one's called The Tank, another one's 18th Hour. We have Dave Cahill and the Almighty Terribles coming. A new one on the conservative scene is called Madison Rising. Other known acts are Payday Monsanto, who's responsible for doing the new promotional video for this year's fest, and Scrap Metal Bomb, Doug Hawk, Jason Hendrington, and the Wandering Root. All these bands are actually conscious bands. They're talking about the issues. They're talking about the problems. And we've tried to have as many of those protest-oriented acts as possible because, one, people need to know they exist, and two, they're talented and deserve their spot in the sun. And come out and hear some great music. If you know anything about our band PokerFace, we try to promote the talent that is running all over the place, that you just got to get them all together in one place so that everybody can enjoy it.
Now, who put all the bands together? Did you do that?
Yeah, well, our friends around us, the bandmates Dennis Bodler and Brett Griffiths, Tara's had a lot to help out with it. And, you know, everybody's like, hey, do you know of another band? That's cool. So they'll hook us up with another band. But yeah, it's definitely a community effort. I might be the lead jester with the jester hat on, but I am not responsible for any of it without everybody's help, and you included, brother.
Hey, I hear you, but, you know, you really are the man for putting this together. Paul Topete, lead singer of PokerFace, I want to thank you for the time you spent explaining all this to listeners. Looking forward to seeing you next week at the second annual Freedompalooza 2012 festival.
Thank you, brother Dave.